NHL best bets on PuckTime, WagerTalk TV. Myself, Andrew McInnis, Brian Leonard. We are here to break it all down. A pretty hefty NHL slate here on a Monday, April 13th. Welcome in, guys. All of you guys in the live chat, or of course, all of you that watch afterwards as well. We appreciate you guys being here. And of course, we are here live every single weekday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, you can catch my videos recorded for Saturday as well. And a lot of you guys did watch my video on Saturday, and we had some success, as well as cashing a 5% ticket on Vegas plus 115 over Colorado. I was saying to Brian before the show, definitely the most probably bold 5% play I'd ever had, I'd say, in the NHL, fading the Avalanche. But great spot for Vegas, and they get the job done in overtime. We did lose yesterday, so winner Saturday, lost on Sunday, but look forward to a great week here. Brian, we've got the last handful of days. I've been teasing it. I've been talking about it, and the playoffs are almost here. Some teams with 1 game left, some teams with 2 games left, but here we are. And some might say we tread lightly, and some might say, hey, it's a good time to get firing. How are you doing, Brian, and how are you approaching the last couple days here of the season?
Yeah, I've been very light as of late in the NHL, but I was with you on that Vegas game. I couldn't believe once they announced that Allen was out and they were going to get the young guy they've been playing much better with him. Once he was in goal, I'm surprised the line didn't go down. But hey, it was a coin flip. It went to overtime, but luckily we were on the right side with Vegas. The game meant a whole lot more to Vegas than it did to Colorado, and there'll be a lot of games in that regard today and tomorrow in the NHL. Certain teams may lay down, other teams don't lay down, and that's the deal in the NHL as opposed to the NBA, where basically a lot of teams lay down.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole like tanking for the draft picks and all that stuff, and somebody tweeted at me probably about 10 minutes before we went live here on the show and asking me, hey, do I worry about lineup information? Do I tread lightly? And I said, hey, look, tread lightly, wait for lineup information. But as I said to you before we went live here, we've seen a couple teams already that have changed their lineups, had some load management, and I'll have to get my jab in on the NBA, because at least with the NHL, they're doing it April 13th and not, December 13th. And when it actually doesn't matter anymore, the playoffs are clinched for some of these teams, but some of those teams are still winning, right? And so that's a big thing right now. And some of these hot teams that just can't stop winning, Philadelphia Flyers, Brian, the Ottawa Senators, that keep getting it going. And how about those Seattle Kraken? I mean, they make the playoffs their first year of existence, and they haven't made the playoffs again since. They were in a spot for a handful of years. Now they're losing. So today's games we're going to break down. We've got Carolina, Philadelphia. We have Minnesota, St. Louis. And last but most certainly not least, we're going to touch on Colorado and Edmonton. I'll have some props. We're going to have a play of the day from Carmine, who I see is joining us in the live chat. Good morning to you, Carm. Have a mimosa for me. Enjoy your time away. So let's get going here, Brian. Carolina and Philadelphia, this Philadelphia Flyers team. So, of course, Carolina being one of those teams I was just talking about, and you had like an hour before the game, all of these players just like announced on Twitter, and they put bracket undisclosed. They didn't say injury management or load management, undisclosed. But this game is a pick now. Philadelphia, as of yesterday, their playoff chances hopped all the way up to like 88% with the Islanders being knocked out. So they're pretty much in as well. How do you approach this game? We saw Carolina win 2 games in a row without their key players. But the expectation is they'll probably do the exact same thing again in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, they've got 2 games to go. They sit at 110 points in the East, and both Buffalo and Montreal sit at 106. Montreal can't catch them. They've got the 106. They only have 1 game to go, but Buffalo can still catch them. And, it means more to Buffalo than it does to Carolina. But 1 point, all they need is 1 point out of the last 2 games, and they clinch it. Yeah, you're right. Carolina was a team the last couple of games. They've rested some players, and I expect them to do more of the same here. After all, they've won 9 straight games in Philadelphia. They're a confident bunch. They think they can do it again. And hey, if you're able to rest these players and still win, that tells you a lot about how good the team is. Now, the thing is, they're going up against a team in Philadelphia, as you said. The chances of them making the playoffs is a lot higher, but they don't want to be shut out. They've already lost all three games, I believe, this season. Between the two, they don't want to go into the playoffs and possibly having to play Carolina, knowing that they went 0-4 against them in the regular season. And we all know, as I just mentioned, they've lost 9 straight games at home against them. So I think this is a prove-it game for Philadelphia, regardless of the playoff situation. And Carolina, you can see that by the line here is Philadelphia's about a 110 to 120 favorite in this one. I prefer the Philadelphia side here. I just think it means more to them. If they make the playoffs right now, it looks like they're going to be playing their in-state rival Pittsburgh. That should be a lot of fun. With both those teams this year really outperforming, especially Pittsburgh has been a team that is really outperformed the metrics all season long. So really excited for those two teams to be in the playoffs and go against each other in the first round. And Carolina has bigger fish to fry because they're always one of these teams that do really good in the preseason, in the regular season, and then they get to the playoffs and they get knocked out early. So they're very likely looking past Philadelphia here. They want to win. Of course, like I said, they need 1 point to clinch the best record in that division. But still, it's a game in which if I'm playing the dog, and I think I'm going to be on Philadelphia some way today.
And the line indicates all we really have to know in this one. Mm-hmm. Obviously, with it being a pick, the expectation is there that Carolina will do more of the same. The thing is, you don't want your players to get cold, but maybe what they're doing right now, Brian, is trying to overcome what you talked about already about them getting bounced, maybe resting up some of these players, get ready for a long playoff run. And I know that I've made it clear that the East has been a little more of a race, but the West has been pretty good too for the teams trying to make it. But this is one of those scenarios here where it's an absolute red-hot Philadelphia team. In their last 6 games, they've actually lost twice, but they've lost just to Detroit, and Detroit's actually not even making the playoffs. But in the games they have won, I mean, they're coming off a 7-1 win over the Winnipeg Jets. This team has just looked fantastic. But more importantly, when I run my analytics, like the defensive and the goaltending numbers have just been so impressive. I've talked about how in that series against Pittsburgh, Battle of Pennsylvania, how awesome that's going to be. Brian, it's the most correlated parlay you could ever imagine. Pittsburgh and over, Philadelphia and under. I think that those two things go very hand in hand. But I'm with you. I will find a way to be involved in some way, shape, or form on the Philadelphia Flyers this evening. Hats off to the Hurricanes. I tip my cap to, looking at 4-1 win over the Mammoth, 7-2 win over the Hawks. Very, very shocked about that win over the Mammoth, although the Mammoth had 2 duds this weekend because I lost on them with Calgary yesterday, which was shocking. But Carolina just come. And you know what? Someone commented this as well, is that the players that are still playing and they're not resting, they have something to prove to the coaches. Mm-hmm. So they care about it as well. But I wouldn't be shocked to see an under in this one either. Philadelphia's defense has been great. If the All-Stars aren't really playing for Carolina, maybe we end up seeing some defense as well in this one. But curious how this line moves too, Brian.
Yeah, maybe play the Carolina team total under because they've got a lot of guys that aren't used to playing together. That may have an effect. But yeah, it's Philadelphia or nothing for me. And I've been very selective as of late, so this may be my only play today. But maybe I'll learn something from you the rest of the way with the other games that we discuss, and it'll put me over the edge as well.
Well, there are some good ones on tap, that's for sure. And guys, it's actually a decent Monday slate. So if you're with us, if you're watching right now, and you have anything you want us to discuss at the end, we will do a short Q&A for any questions or any takes, any player props or anything you guys have futures-wise or whatever. Very important for Brian and I to get the audience involved. And I know that you guys do a great job of that on the baseball show as well, Brian, with kind of going over things. So Philadelphia, they're red hot right now. More meaning for them probably in this one. We'll see if Carolina can have 3 great efforts without even having their starters in. Would be a bit surprised to see that. But I'm going to hand it over to you with this one because, sometimes on the show, we're talking about a minus 150s or minus 200s. And between myself and Carmine, we try and pick games with good odds. Well, here we are again here, Brian. Minnesota and St. Louis, pretty tight number here again in this one. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, as I mentioned in the past, Minnesota is basically definitely locked into their playoff position right now. They're sitting 6 points behind the Dallas Stars with only 2 games to go, and they've got an 11-point lead over Vegas with the 2 games to go. So they've been pretty much playing out the string here, getting ready for the playoffs. Unfortunately, they got to play the Dallas Stars on what looks to be a really good first round series, but it would be much better in the second or third round. But you got to go with what the league says you got to do. So Minnesota right now just playing out the string. Interesting is St. Louis is now eliminated, got eliminated in their last game. So if they were still in the chance to make the playoffs, the line would have been much higher than what it is. But St. Louis has played so well in the second half of the season. And although, yes, they wanted to make the playoffs, they had to have known that they were a little bit too far out to get there, but they gave it all. So I expect St. Louis to come out with a better effort here. I don't think they're going to, just because they got 3 games to go. They're not going to make the playoffs, but I think the way they played the second half of the season tells us a lot about the character of the St. Louis team. And I think the lines maker is seeing that as well as the public. I did see an open line that had Minnesota as the favorite early on. Don't know how many places that was there. But right now you're laying, from 125 to 130. I'm even seeing a 135 out there for St. Louis. Prefer the St. Louis side, but the line's getting away from us. If you could have laid the 120, it may have made my card. But this number, unless it gets bet out again, I'm probably not going to get involved. But I just don't want Minnesota. Minnesota, nothing to play for. They may be resting some players also, and especially when they got that physical series with Dallas coming up.
Yeah, that series is going to be an all-out war, a complete battle. And the last time I believe you and I spoke, right, we talked about that game that they played against each other, right? That would have been on Thursday or last Wednesday, maybe. So yeah, I mean, we got a preview of what that was going to be like. Unfortunately for Dallas, they did lose Heiskanen in that one. Something neither team wanted. You want to avoid in probably a meaningless game, an injury happening, and that ended up happening to Minnesota. So, yeah, to your point, look here, Brian. I think that there's going to be some teams that do what Carolina did, and although they might not have the same amount of motivation, they could still win. But I think for a team like St. Louis, you look at them and there's teams, Brian, that have kind of folded towards the end of the year. And then there's teams like St. Louis that have really come alive, right? Like 78 points for them. Nashville is the second wild card team. They've got 84. Unfortunately, there's, a handful of games left for them. Or excuse me, actually, it's 84 for them and 78 for St. Louis. But I think they're one of those teams that I probably have pegged as a team that's going to give it their all until the final buzzer. Like, they're not going to be a team that kind of throws the season away by any means. But I'm going to take the scaredy cat route out of this one, and I'm going to go with the under, and I'm going to avoid picking a side here. Looking at the defensive structure from St. Louis right now, looking at their goaltending, both goalies playing pretty well, but more specifically, Joel Hofer has been unbelievable. A lot of my numbers, even looking at Minnesota right now, expected goals against 2.26 last 5 games. As far as St. Louis goes, 2.68, but Joel Hofer plus 0.72 goals saved above expected. So if you're an analytics guy, you like it. If you're an eye test guy, you like it. So this to me has the type of means to be it's pick 'em game. Minnesota versus St. Louis, could be a rivalry sometimes. I think we see an under in this game. Sometimes you want to shape up for playoff hockey. It means doing all the right things. And I think for Minnesota, doing the right things would mean protecting the puck, getting in that playoff mindset. It's funny because I was actually talking with Buster about this yesterday, about how in the playoffs, the totals drop. And so because of the totals dropping, we can take advantage of overs still in the playoffs. But I think late in the season right now, you're starting to see some unders. Like you even look at the Habs game against Tampa. That game goes under. The Habs game yesterday against the New York Islanders. That game goes on. I mean, you're seeing a lot of defensive games with teams that are just getting themselves prepared for the playoffs, Brian. So I've been finding myself leaning more towards overs or unders than overs. And you know me, if I am betting an over, it's been mostly just a team total.
Yeah, that's true. And once you get into the playoffs with the low totals, you never know when the coach is going to pull the goalie.
Yeah.
And you could be winning the entire game, and then all of a sudden a couple of empty net goals at the end, and you've lost your bet. So keep that in mind in the playoffs, because every game means so much more. The coaches would be willing to pull the goalie and lose by multiple goals. So keep that in mind. If you're getting the +1.5 in the playoffs, it's a little bit different than the regular season. So a lot of things, it's a totally different ball game. And of course, as I always say, since they don't have the overtime rules they do in the regular season, you could disregard all the shootouts and all the overtime losses and all that kind of thing. And there's certain teams like a Pittsburgh and Vegas that are terrible in those regards. So that makes them a little bit tougher to beat in the playoffs when we get to that part of the schedule.
Works out much better for some of those teams. And you look at some of the teams that have won a lot of games in overtime, all of a sudden they don't have, they have to worry. This is why everyone's cheering against the LA Kings, because they've had so many overtime games. It doesn't even make any sense. All right, Brian, you've had such a great long stretch with NHL. I'm on a pretty good run right now. As I mentioned, we did win the big 5% on Saturday, but we did lose on Sunday. This fantastic deal still up and available right now, $199, rest of regular season for free, and the playoffs. But shout out to the team at WagerTalk, because we just got this great promo code for anybody watching right now. PuckTime 50. PuckTime 50 is the promo code. Take $50 off this deal. Already a fantastic deal. 13-3 run for me. Brian, for several years, has just been rocking and rolling with NHL. And I know, Brian, you're ready for playoffs, because playoffs use a time to make money in the NHL. So, guys, $199 typical, but the regular pricing goes down $50 if you use that promo code PuckTime50 at wagertalk.com, wt.buzz/am or /BL for Mr. Brian Leonard himself. So if you are watching Puck Time, then you get to take advantage of that great deal. And of course, that works for Brian, works for myself, and I believe it works for a couple other guys as well. But I'd say, Brian, me and you are on here doing the show. We deserve to get the people a promo code.
There are no other guys. One guy lives down in Mexico. He's in vacation all the time. The other guy's on vacation.
Exactly.
And Prez is always on vacation.
We're doing the show.
We're here each and every day, only because we can't afford to go on vacation. No, that's not the reason. That's not the reason. We're bringing hockey to each and every one of you.
We love being here. Eh? We just love being here.
I'm doing the show. Hey, what can you say?
But it's a great deal. It's a great deal. And honestly, like, I would say that I don't know when all my plays are being released. And I'll tell you, I know that Johnny and Melissa and Missy, that they're probably tired of every now and then they get a message, hey, is Andrew going to have a play today? And it's tough, because it's like, do the clients want me to give the play out when I know who the goalie is, or if this team's going to have half their roster? But if you guys subscribe, you're just going to be able to get all of my plays the second I release them right to your email. So once again, guys, PuckTime 50 takes $50 off the rest of the NHL season. Okay, guys, keep the comments coming. Any games, any players, teams that you want us touching on at the end of the show, we'll make sure to do so. All right, this one's going to be good here. I'll tell you what, you got a couple different angles involved. You got, well, the NHL Stanley Cup favorite off a loss, and you also have the off a shutout loss angle here. Two great teams, Brian, coming off losses here. Avalanche and Oilers. When you talk motivation, the motivation still kind of stems with the Oilers. How do you feel about this matchup?
Yeah, even though we won with the Golden Knights the other day against Colorado, I was really impressed by the Colorado passing. Even though they had guys out there that are playing with different groupings, the passing is excellent on that team. So that tells you how good the coaching is in Colorado. They will not take any game for granted. Although if you go back to last month, they're basically playing 500 hockey. That's because they got off to such a great start and they were able to rest some of the players and some of the motivations out there. But this one is an interesting game because Edmonton, with the loss of Winnipeg yesterday, they have I guess you could say they backed into the playoffs. So they're in the playoffs regardless. And a lot of times these teams have a lot of confidence, and it doesn't matter what spot they're in. I talked about that back in a couple of weeks ago with the East. I said Buffalo and Pittsburgh would be the teams that want to win, whereas opposed to Carolina and some other teams, Tampa Bay, they just want to get to the playoffs and worry about that. And that's the way it's turned out. Is Buffalo continues to try to ring up wins, and the same way there. But this is an important game for the Oilers because if the Oilers win their last two games, they will win the division unless Vegas goes 2-0. And believe it or not, the Edmonton Oilers have not won the Pacific since 1987. I had to read through that 3 or 4 times before I got it because they've been so good, especially the last few years. You would expect them to be division winners. They hadn't been. So maybe this means a little bit more to them this year to be able to get to that. And obviously, they don't want to be in the second wild card position. They're going to have to play the team they're playing today, the Colorado Avalanche, in the first round of the playoffs. And nobody wants to play the Colorado Avalanche in the first game of the playoffs unless you barely make it into the playoffs and you're happy about that, because chances are you're going to be beat up pretty well in that first round. So I think the massive motivation here is on the Oilers. And when you take a look at the line in this one, Edmonton is still a slight underdog here, and very similar to the Colorado-Vegas game where the other day where I was surprised Vegas was an underdog. I'm still surprised that Edmonton is a dog here. I lean with Edmonton here. Don't know if I want to make it as a play, but I am looking that way.
Yeah, if we're following the motivational angle, and again, it's different for us to have these motivational angles when it's, oh, Detroit has to win or Philadelphia has to win. It's more so like this team's already in the postseason. They're not going anywhere. It's just about where they fit in, where they factor into the playoffs is really the biggest factor when it comes to this. So I get it. I agree with you on it. I have a hard time not seeing goals in this one, Ryan. I think, Carter Hart played very well for the Vegas Golden Knights. You were talking about that. I think John Tortorella, I believe he knows Hart back from Philadelphia. He has seemed to make him his guy in Vegas so far. He played well. Colorado probably could have deserved better, and I was happy they lost with my big play. And then the Oilers coming off a shutout loss, which that's been a big angle for me, whether it's first period over, full game over. When a really good team like that gets embarrassed and doesn't score one single goal, you do have that expectation of some offense the next day. So the first period over is minus 150 for over 1.5 goals. Both teams to score in the first period is plus 145. So when you think about it like that, okay, so the over 1.5 goals is minus 150, but both teams to score first period plus 145. That's available at most sports books. That would be an angle that I'm certainly intrigued by. And you're not chasing a minus 150 bet. You're in fact getting pretty solid plus money here for both teams to get on the board in the first opening 20 minutes. I think that you don't want to get injured. You want to go into the playoffs on a good note. Oilers want to win the division. Avalanche want to establish those good habits. One thing I'll say about this Avalanche team, Brian, is that they have dealt with injuries throughout the season. So I think one thing the Avalanche are working on right now is just that team chemistry. Like, this is your line, this is your line, this is your line, this is your line. Sometimes coaches want to mix things up. Like, I know for the Canadians right now, as a Habs fan, we're 24 minutes in, first time talking about the Habs of the day. I feel like that's pretty good so far for me, but they're trying to figure out which guys are going to be their playoff roster, because this is the healthiest they've been all year. So it's like players are auditioning to the coach for game one of the playoffs. For the Avalanche, they already know who their lineup is. It's just a matter of where they play and getting the chemistry and stuff. So kind of an interesting number. I know you don't bet those kind of bets, Brian, but plus 145 for both teams. It's a pretty cool bet.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. We're not really going to talk about the Detroit Tampa Bay game, but I could see that very similar. is Detroit's now out of the playoffs. Tampa Bay, as I said, is just waiting to get in the playoffs. That totals at 6.5 also. And yeah, I could see some goals being scored in those games.
Yeah, very, very curious to see how these teams end their seasons off. And I just think that when you look at this Oilers team, I continue to say this, that no matter how they played, no matter how their goaltending looked all throughout the season, Brian, their division is a little bit easier than the Central with the Avalanche, with the Wild, with the Stars. Who knows? Vegas getting going, new coach and all that. I think Anaheim were kind of frauds a little bit. Like Edmonton certainly believes like we could go back to the Cup Finals again for a third straight year. Like they're definitely confident. And this game, although it has minimal meaning for both teams, I mean, Edmonton could have that first spot, but I think everybody playing in Colorado right now, going towards the end of the season, they want to prove that they can stack up. Like, hey, we're just as good as you guys are. It's kind of like, when Montreal played Tampa Bay recently, it's like, hey, look, if we meet you guys in the playoffs, we can beat you. So maybe this game, to your point, it bodes even better for your case that this game means a bit more for the Edmonton Oilers a little bit here. North Vancouver Canucks says, who does the chat think is the favorite for the Norris Trophy? So that was a big discussion on the Hockey Night in Canada panel on Sportsnet here in Canada, talking about the Norris, the best defenseman of the year award. And one thing, Brian, I don't like about this, and we won't spend too much time on this, but it's supposed to be the best defenseman of the year award, right? And so one of the guys on the panel, and I was a bit surprised it was actually the younger guy that was saying this and not one of the older guys. He pretty much was essentially saying that the award shouldn't just be which defenseman had the most points. If your label is defenseman, you should also be getting that award because you're good defensively, right? And so you look at a guy like Evan Bouchard, who plays for the Oilers. He's having a great year and not horrible defensively. And then people want to talk about, okay, how much are they playing on the penalty kill and all that stuff. I think that in hockey especially, and I'm curious, you're a diehard baseball guy, if you would agree with me even with this with baseball, I think sometimes the market a player plays in can help them get votes. Like there's Zach Werenski for the Blue Jackets. If Zach Werenski played for Colorado, he would be, and I'm a Canadian, he would be just as popular as Cale Makar is. And I love Cale Makar, but he plays for Columbus, You get what I'm saying with these markets?
Yeah, back in the olden days when I used to go to the baseball games, you had these little punch cards that you would do. And as a kid, I always rooted for the Indians, and I wanted all my favorite players in there. And you'd spend the entire day punching those cards. Now it's all on the internet, and it's a whole different thing. But a lot of people don't get to see a Columbus Blue Jackets game very often, or they don't get to see some of these other teams play, so they don't really know about them. And so, yeah, it's a popularity vote. And if it's your defensive player, the best defensive player should have the best defensive numbers. How many goals did you give? How often are you playing on the penalty kill? That kind of thing. It's all a popularity contest. I've never paid a whole lot of attention to who wins all these things and who makes the all-star team. I don't care. I just I just bet for the team situations, and because the team is coming to play or not, and it's just what you're going to get, as opposed to people who are just betting on their favorite players or whatever. Here in Vegas, we've got some really good defensive players that don't score a lot. Well, they didn't score a lot with the other coach, but now this coach has them on the rush a lot more. So you're seeing a lot more. So it all depends on who the coaches are, as well as what they are playing and what their responsibilities are. So it's impossible for me to know that. And how can everybody else know that also? So it's
100%. Like a defenseman, to me, it's not just about the points. If you're like, think about it last year with a good example is Ekblad for Florida. He was a high draft pick many years ago. Mm-hmm. And he was the one that was solely responsible for going up against Connor McDavid every game in the playoffs, the Stanley Cup Finals. Do you think that those Florida Panthers coaches cared how many points he got or how many assists he got or goals? No, his job was to go up against Connor McDavid. That was enough work as it is alone. So I'm curious. Maybe that could be kind of the question of the day, guys. Comment below who you think should win the defensive player of the year or the best defensive player of the year, the Norris Trophy. Very, very curious what you guys have to say. A big shout out to Parker Smith. Love the show, guys. Longtime listener. Keep up the great work, Parker. We appreciate you. And TJ Salvatore brings this up. Speaking of coaching, no head coach for the Avalanche tonight. Yes. Taking a puck to the head. I'm happy he's doing better now, but that was tough to see, Bri.
It was. And I turned to my wife and she said, "What happened?" Because it happened so fast. I said, "He got hit in the head. Everybody else ducked and he got hit in the head." I said, I'm really surprised that doesn't happen more often. The guys are standing up back there. Everybody else is sitting down. They're sitting ducks, as they say.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often. You hate to see it, but he didn't even make the trip. They'll be using the other two guys as their head coaches for tonight. Will that make a difference in the game? I don't know. Maybe the other guys are really popular and the players will play harder for. Who knows? So just another question to ask at this time of the season with only a couple games left.
I can't wait for Saturday already. I just want this week to be over with, and I just can't wait for Saturday. I'm going to be talking about it every day, and the countdown will be on. I think it's very cool that the playoffs start on a Saturday. I like that. Like just the way they plan it, the way it works. I don't know, the NBA has games Tuesday and then throughout the week, but I love that first day for the hockey is a Saturday, and it's going to be all day long. It's going to be fantastic. Shout out to AJ Picks. He says, "Hey, I'm here first." Which I love. Let's beat the books today, fellas. Good luck to everybody. AJ, good luck to you. Shout out to Ethan, always in here. Ethan, good morning. Titan CT, of course. Some Carmine guy decided to show up here today with us, so we don't know who that guy is.
Something. As opposed to the other guys on the show. I hope you learned something today.
Yeah, I hope he's watching. All right, I've got some props here for you guys. Same game parlay, and we actually are going with one singular game. Handful of games I like the unders, and nobody wants to bet a same game parlay with unders because why would you guys want to do that? So hey, let's go to a same game parlay: Colorado and Edmonton. Martin Necas, Evan Bouchard, and Arturi Lehkonen, and of course the artificial intelligence graphic designer keeps putting Necas on the Hurricanes, which I don't like. We'll have to change that up. But Necas, Lehkonen, and Bouchard. Bouchard 3 shots. Lehkonen 1 point and Necas 1 assist. That gets you to +4 or 525. One hell of a price there. One thing about this Avalanche team, they do give up shots on goal against defensemen. Bouchard's been great, so strong offensively. And I do think that Lehkonen and Necas will work very well together. We'll take a look at those two guys to get on the board tonight. So +525 in a game that I do envision to have quite a bit of goals and maybe could be a game with some action. Of course, Edmonton off that shutout and Colorado off that loss against Vegas. So, Brian, once again here, fantastic deal. $199 rest of the regular season, but you can use that great promo code PuckTime50, WT.buzz /BL or /AM. Guys, forget about one singular pick day by day by day. If you're interested in our plays, our best bets, if you want to ride with us all throughout, and I'll tell you what, props will be back for me in the playoffs. We got sides, totals, serious wagers. I know Brian's fired up for the playoffs. So that promo code, Brian, PuckTime50, $50 off, already a pretty good deal at $199. It's not too bad.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we kind of talked offline. A lot of people don't realize how long the playoffs are. It's a long time, and there's a lot of times they have stretch out the schedule like this year because of the Olympics. There was a lot of games crammed into a small amount of time. You got the playoffs, teams will be a little bit more rested. They know who their rosters are. The playoffs are the way to go. And, I've been harping on it. NBA playoffs. I don't give a lot of plays out in the NBA during the regular season because of time management. Well, you know who's going to play in the playoffs. So the playoffs in both the NHL, and especially in the NBA, are the way to go. You'll win a lot more in the playoffs than you will in the regular season.
And you just, what you see is what you get. That's the best part about it, especially with the NBA. So I can't wait for that. Chuck Pod, he's in here. I agree, Andrew, but how do you quantify the defender's contribution to a team? I would say like their plus minus maybe. Time on the ice, penalty kills, shutdown rolls. I just think that it's kind of like You know how in the NFL, Brian, we've got the MVP award. There might as well be a non-quarterback award and then a quarterback award, because how often does anybody besides a quarterback win the MVP? They might as well call it the quarterback of the year. Like,
Yeah.
I know I'm not the only person to think this.
Yeah, Rasmus Anderson, ever since he came over to Vegas, he's getting about 3 minutes more than any other defenseman on the team. That tells you, regardless of what he does offensively or whatever, that tells you they trust him out there during key times. And so go back and look at your guys and say, because Pietrangelo was always that way before he got hurt. He was on the ice all the time, and they've missed him all season long. So when he comes back next year, if he does come back healthy, then that'll be something to take a look at. But every team has players like that.
100%. And their value isn't just all about the goals. That's for sure. Okay, real quick here. We've got NHL play of the day from Carmine. He's on -1.5 at +120 for the Buffalo Sabres. Carmine being a Homer Simpson again, taking a look at his Buffalo Sabres, but they're in a pretty good matchup. He does mention to us Spencer Knight, 7 straight losses, in the Sabres' last 6 road wins have all been by 2 goals or more. Great little graphic there from Carmine. I noticed that Carmine's put a lot of pictures out of him golfing, but no videos. So must not mean the swing was going very well for him if we didn't see any videos.
I actually think he was golfing, and he's so bad, he hit it into that area with the bulls. I hope he wasn't using a brown ball. That's all I got to ask for. You don't want to be having to pick up and figure out, is that your ball? Yeah, because chances are that's not a ball.
-1.5 Buffalo Sabres for Carmine. He'll be passing along some plays of the day for you guys. But again, we're gearing up and we're waiting for the playoffs. When did he get the arm tattoo? Karma's been tatted up for since I've known him for years. So, Andrew, if you add your first period both teams to score, your same game parlay turns into 11-1. All right, maybe we'll do it, TJ. As Carmine says, a little bit of beer and pizza money, and could set us up for a great week. 11-1, not bad for that. Maybe I'll sweat that out. TJ, I'll tweet that out. You get the credit. You get the credit if it goes from 525 to 11-1. That's for sure. Okay, Brian, any closing thoughts? Obviously, you had your baseball show earlier. Quality show once again. We've been having a great time working together. Anything you want to mention before we head out?
Yeah, first off, the baseball show, I put out a prop play the other day, and a +820 on a home run prop, and it hit. And that's the first time I've ever done it. So today, if you watch the show, go back and watch the baseball show, I've got one of those Yerfies. Yes, first inning score. I've never had one of those before. So hopefully we'll get a nice winner on that. But yeah, I'll be back later on today and doing our baseball videos. We'll give out 2 free selections on that. I'll tape that after this show. So yeah, a lot of things to look at, a lot of things for free. I talked about 2 games I like today on hockey, and those will probably be plays for clients. So yeah, you're getting free plays from me today, and you don't need to buy anything. And as long as we give you some winners, we'll have some happy people tuning in for that.
Of course. And we're here every single day, live, 11 a.m. Eastern. You guys can catch us recorded, though, as well, if you missed the show. We're also on podcast networks. If you're out walking the dog, you're out driving in your car, you can listen to us on podcast platforms as well. 13-3 run for me in NHL, 5% winner on Saturday. We did lose a play yesterday. Back in action tonight, though, with a 4% best bet. You guys can get that at WagerTalk.com. And let's keep rocking and rolling, guys. If anything else gets released, you guys will be the first ones to know about it if you sign up with this package. Once again, PuckTime 50. It's a great deal. Save $50 and just get locked and loaded with us. It's going to be a one hell of a next month and a half here for the NHL playoffs. That will do it. Thank you for watching PuckTime. We will see you tomorrow, same time, same place.